This is the third video in the showcasing the latest setups for Internet Morse on ICW and using Mumble. In this case, we're using Voicemeeter Mixer as the master, and we're going to use Reaper as an auxiliary program so that we can use some plugins. And I'll show you that in just a second. Let's go over Voicemeeter. I'm using for Morse code the microphone jack to import a code practice oscillator sine wave. So that's working. This is my microphone, and as long as we have B2 clicked here, and this is all the mumble input on the left. This is the spectrum of the microphone. So I am now sending to the mumble input. So there's the VU meter. We'll do a loopback test. Test. Okay, so that's working. Okay. So anytime you click B2 on this Voicemeeter mixer, it's going to go to the mumble input. One unique thing about Voicemeeter is when you install it, it installs two separate virtual audio cables. The Voicemeeter VEO, which is what we're only going to use for the mumble output. And for the mumble input, we only use the Voicemeeter aux. I have a line in, so I have you may hear some CW in the background, and you connect your rig and connect it to this line in jack, and you can hear audio in case you wanted to share what you're listening on HF with the other people in Mumble. So I'll go over that in a second here. Let me turn it back down a little bit. Now on the right side, everything's in normal mode. And these virtual inputs, if you have A1, it goes to the REALTEK sound card, and you can hear it. And for lowest latency, we use the WDM drivers. And I'll open up the menu here, and you can see I'm using 160 buffer frames for WDM. At 48K, I'm using exclusive mode for Voicemeeter, so it's yes. And it has a super fast mode, and I'm using that mode here. Now down here is how we get the plugins. So you have 5 input channels. So I have all 5 inputs, 1, 2, 3, the first 2 on 4 and the first 2 on 5, since those virtual audio cables are 7.1, but I'm only going to use the first 2 for audio. So when those are selected, if you bring up another program and use Voicemeeter's insert ASIO driver, the input will first go to that ASIO connection on the input, and then the output will come back to the mixer input. So for instance, on input 1, we have this right here. I'm going to show you the Reaper setup for this, and you may not hear my voice. Reaper turns off the sound engine, but I'll show you the settings. That's a very interesting driver, and it really works well for this. So here's on 1, we're putting input stereo for left and right on input 1. In this routing, we take it off the master and add a new hardware and select the same one, input 1 left and right. So that means it'll come in here from the first input channel first, go to this ASIO insert program that we're using Reaper for, and then you can apply in this path any kind of plugins. Reaper comes with its own plugins, as in the first couple videos showed, so this is really nice. So here we're using regate again as a trigger threshold for that 555 chip sent in a square wave. And this resynth is being keyed because we have send MIDI at node 77, which is around 700 Hertz. And we filter it with this. And all these are plugins that come with Reaper. And that's how we get stuff through the first track. So it comes to the first track, then comes back to this hardware input right here. And then you can adjust it accordingly. So if I turned it up, if I turned it down, you get different volumes. So you have to set your volumes accordingly. If you click B2, then it goes out to the Voicemeeter aux, which is where Mumble is listening to. So we have Voicemeeter aux output as the WASAPI input device for the audio. We have Voicemeeter input, which is this channel here, this VEO channel. So if I do a bounce back, we can test that. So let's go to the Loudmax server, turn it on, test. So you can hear my voice bouncing back. Now let's listen to the Morse. And coming in on Voicemeeter, right there. So that second tone was the Mumble output coming back at me. And you don't want B2 checked for the Mumble input here, otherwise it'll go right back out here and it'll do a loop back. Just leave these in normal. This A1 right here goes higher, goes lower. So leave it about right there so we can keep the volume straight for this video here. Okay. So let's take the microphone off of B2 so we can see what the spectrum's doing here. And as you're looking at the spectrum of my line-in jack, which has the rig's audio output, and we're on 40 meters here listening to some CW. So let's turn it up. So you can see the spectrum here. Now, again, turn that down so you can hear me. We go to Reaper, and line input from rig is right here. So the first thing we do, just for something fun, as far as trying to make this a little easier to deal with the audio from a rig, we have a little AGC circuit. So we have it set like this, and so whatever's coming out of my rig volume will stay around -12. And then that goes to the next set right here. And these are plugins to help with the audio. I've got just a little bit of a bandpass filter here where we're 7 dB up for these two frequencies, and the others are 12 dB. Every other frequency is 12 dB down. Here's what it sounds like without it. Let me turn it up first again. So, standby 1. That's what it sounds like without it, the first filter. The second filter is kind of a peak filter for the frequency that you're listening to, which is this number 4. So you can move this around. And this will let you change the pitch if you don't feel like reaching for the knob to turn the frequency. So that's just a few things to do. So turn that down again. Okay. So we have the mic. We've got the Morse code for the paddles. Here's the keyboard. Now the keyboard comes in Voicemeeter aux. So I can hear it because I have this A1. A1 goes to the first sound card here, which is the REALTEK speakers. Now if you had an auxiliary sound card, you could also send it to there too. It also has another slot for a third sound card, so you can have 3 outputs if you wanted. I'm going to keep this one simple just for the demonstration. So whatever comes in on this virtual audio cable also goes out the other part of it, which goes to the Mumble input, which is why you see these VU meters sending audio, and you see the spectrum down here. Now, this is a good reading of the difference between the output of YP log audio quality and my paddles here. So if I can mute that for a second. Here's the paddles. And here is YP log. So you see the spectrum's a little bit wide, and you may be able to hear the difference in that. Okay, so it's not that big of a deal setting this one up. The Reaper is a little bit of a learning curve. I just double click. I'll show you how to set up a track here. Double click, turn that on, right click, monitor input. Let's say we wanted channel, this very last one on input 5. Because it's a 7.1, it has 8 different channels here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, this 7th one here. So we have that, and then we want this one, take it off the master. We want to add new hardware, and did that last one for 5. And click that, so you're good to go. Now if you had anything that was using this, it would come right through into Reaper, because we're using the virtual insert ASIO driver. And it was only activated when you activate a program like Reaper or any other VST host that's going to use that driver. As soon as it uses that driver, you have to set up the numbers here so that you track your audio into the VST host and back out to the input of Voicemeeter. So it comes out of here, goes to here, comes out of here, and goes back to here according to which of the 5 inputs you're using. Inside Voicemeeter, again, it's these buttons down here. So just the first 2 and 5, first 2 and 4, both on 3, 2 and 1. So I have all 5 inputs that will come out of the input first, go to the VST host like Reaper, and once you're done applying all your effects and plugins, it'll go back into each individual input so that you can either listen to it with your sound card or send it to the Mumble input. One really nice setup for this is because it has 2 virtual audio cards, it's just perfect for Mumble, to keep the Mumble input and Mumble output separate. It also has for Mumble input or output that you can apply VB Audio's Voicemeeter equalizers. It even has one here too. That's what it looks like. So you can take them up and turn it on and mess with it a bit. So leave it off. I'm not going to use that for now for this demonstration, but I think that's basically the setup. It all works pretty well. So you have keyboard, you have microphone right here in this channel. You've got audio from your HF rig if you want to share something you're hearing on HF right here with this line in. I'm using an external side tone generator to come into this REALTEK microphone. This is a USB. This is an additional sound card, and this is a USB sound card too. So these are individual from what came with the laptop. This microphone on the left is the only one that came with the laptop. We're also doing the spectrum here, which helps you keep an idea of what your input looks like as it goes to Mumble. Same thing for this VU meter here as in the other two videos. Okay, I think that wraps up everything in general. Thanks for watching.